오늘은 하이엔드 미닛 2024에서 주목해봐야 할 만한 브랜드, 여러분들 잘 아시는 브랜드죠. 덴마크의 오디오벡터입니다. 이번에 오디오벡터에서 이전에 나왔던 스피커를 새롭게 제작해서 나왔다고 하더라고요. 굉장히 궁금한 모델이거든요. 안에 들어가서 한번 보실게요. 기존에 여러분들이 굉장히 좋아하셨던 모델이죠. 이제 R 시리즈의 센터 스피커 전시가 되어 있고요. 그다음에 R 서브퍼 전시가 되어 있습니다. 그다음에 제가 이 제품 써봤는데 굉장히 좋더라고요. R1 아랫대 제품 전시되어 있고요. 그다음에 R3 아랫대 전시되어 있고요. 얘가 아마도 R6 아니면 R8일 것 같습니다. 뉴스 기사를 봤는데 정말 디자인이 정말 예쁘고 독특하더라고요. 그래서 이 제품 트래페이즈 리이미지라는 제품입니다. 한번 보시죠. 보시면은 기존에 옛날에 나왔던 그 디자인을 그대로 가지고 왔지만 또 내부의 어떤 이런 유닛이라든지 이런 것들은 또 새롭게 완전히 제작했다고 하더라고요. 오디오벡터가 굉장히 잘하는 거, 우퍼를 아이소베릭 스타일로 또 제작을 했다고 하더라고요. 독특하고 굉장히 예쁘지 않나요? 그렇게 디자인 됐습니다. 저는 그러면 한번 앉아서 음악을 들어볼게요.
I bought a bourgeois house in the Hollywood Hills with a trunk load of $100,000 bills. Man came by to hook up my cable TV. We settled in for the night, my baby and me. We switched round and round till half past dawn. There was 57 channels and nothing on 57 channels.
Russet brandy in a diamond glass. Everything is made from dreams. Time is made from hearts.
Hello Korea, my name is Mads Clifford and I am the CEO of AudioVector. I am also the second generation owner, as my father founded the company in 1979 in Copenhagen, Denmark. Yes, the trapeze we have here on my right and on my left. The trapeze is a classical form which was brought out by my father in 1979 and was the first commercial loudspeaker which had success across export markets. So we decided to bring back only the shape but re-engineer everything internally and externally. I decided to do this as my father has been in the business for 45 years. So I wanted to honor him by taking something classical back, but show the public a classic design with all new parts and all new concepts. Yes, we have a 12-inch bass woofer to the front, engineered and manufactured by AudioVector in Denmark, which has a corrugated surround so it can move a lot. Internally, on its own closed cabinet, we have an 8-inch woofer, which is down-firing and ventilated through the rear. This is how we can achieve 88 dB sensitivity for this kind of speaker. And it was very important for me that we get to use all kinds of amplifiers with our customer. Not only solid-state high power, also low power 300B tube amplifier. So, for the trapeze, we have redesigned all parts from scratch. We have done this to, first of all, make a unique product, as the product was unique back in '79. We have also done this to get our head around how the new concepts for the coming speakers the next 10 years, which concepts they should have, how should they look, which thinking should be behind it. So, we start with the easier stuff. All trapeze will be delivered with a hand-signed certificate of ownership from my father, the founder, and as me as a CEO. The serial number are individual for each pair and will always tell about the warranty for AudioVector. Yeah. It's all closed with a small wax seal. On the rear of the loudspeaker, we have the name of TRAPEZE, TRAPEZE Reimagined, the serial number, and the technician who manufactured the loudspeaker. The Freedom grounding cable is optional, and but it's also always follow in the package. So that is a huge upgrade. And as you can see, the Freedom cable does not take no power, only takes the Shuko ground. You always have a small cloth, so for the polishing of the plugs, gloves for unpacking, precision machines, floor protection units, and M6 spikes that can be micro adjustment, which is important. These things are all made in Denmark and hand finished by our technicians. We use crossover parts manufactured by ourselves. We use Dualon coherent audio to make some of our capacitors and resistors for various models, but also for the TRAPEZE. All aluminum is made in Denmark and Germany and is hand finished, as you can see. But if you can see, I will show you a little bit later, the tweeter is like a CD, but we can take a shot of that after. This is the bass ports, which ventilates the bass isobaric bass system, but also works as an open rear for the air motion transformer. This is actually the old version of the air motion transformer. For the TRAPEZE, we have 2 extra slots, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 for the TRAPEZE. It's great. It gives us greater dispersion and a little bit more velvety, silky performance. All crossovers are built by us by hand in Copenhagen, and the print plate is delivered by the same supplier as in '79. The plinth consists of 2 pieces of aluminum, polished cut on the sides, brushed on the other angles. But the very unique part with this is that we decouple the loudspeaker from the floor using steel carbon ball bearing. So each speaker sits very well on the floor, but is decoupled from the mass of the floor, which is extremely important for the free sound. Crossover terminal plate has one switch. The switch I can show you a little bit later, but there's a switch for adjusting the damping factor, so you can adjust it towards your amplifier. There is a Freedom grounding connection, which you saw here, and a single wire. When you have a rigid rear baffle and a rigid front baffle, you actually strengthen the cabinet from the outside. It's a little bit like a suspension on a sports car. When you strengthen the cabinet from the outside, you have a more fast and more rigid sound. But it's not only the baffles which are strengthening the cabinet from the R6. The R6 has internal braces which is pushing out. So we mount them inside the cabinet and it's pushing out for improved strength. This is an air motion transformer based on the original Dr. Oscar Heil principle. So it's open to the rear. It breathes through a tube. And this is why it sounds so airy. And it takes no power to drive because it moves no mass. It is vibrating for the sound and goes up to 52,000 hertz. You have to have a very fast mid-range driver. So we use a 6.5-inch hand-built, very light, very stiff, very strong carbon membrane with the titanium voice coil technique for no hysteresis and no distortion. So it is extremely fast. And you need a very fast mid-range driver for this kind of tweeter. You have, for example, in the R6, you have the mid-range driver, the mid-bass, you have the 8-inch bottom isobaric driver, the 6-inch middle isobaric driver, and the 3-inch rear-firing mid-range driver. So a complicated speaker. All the driver's chassis are connected to an internal grounding filter. The internal grounding filter is connected to the 5th terminal pin on the rear side behind of the crossover. So when the drivers are moving, this is called trans-induced movement distortion, we can take, it will affect the chassis of the driver, it will affect the chassis of the loudspeaker. But by adding the ground, we can take away about 52% of this distortion for a cleaner sound. And it is always very easy to make the A-B demonstration because the noise floor drops. The background becomes silent. It's a concept introduced by us in 2019 when the R1 and the R3 and later the R6 came into the market. And this is a revolutionary concept which has been very popular for us. AudioVector has a sound philosophy, feel the music. Feel the music is about feeling. It's about imaging the freedom that music can bring to you. It's about the feeling that you get when you are at a live concert, listening to the artist, staying around people that love music too. So feel the music is about taking a loudspeaker and let it perform as it was supposed to sound at the original recording. Not damping it too much, not taking details away, and definitely not taking dynamic away. So we make loudspeakers that sound free, dynamic, open, pleasant, and we'll give you the standing hairs as well.
네, 하이엔드비는 2024에서 주목해 봐야 할 만한 브랜드. 네, 여러분들이 정말 사랑하시는 케이블 브랜드죠. 네, 실버로 주로 제품을 만들고 거기에다가 그 틈을 금으로 메꾸는 굉장한 기술을 가지고 있는 실텍입니다. 그래서 안쪽으로 들어가서 한번 어떻게 부스가 꾸며지는지 한번 보도록 하겠습니다. 들어가 보시죠. 네, 이렇게 들어오시면은 이렇게 케이블들이 여기 있습니다. 새로 나온 디지털 케이블을 하네요. 로얄 더블 크라운 레인 케이블이 이렇게 또 전시가 되어 있습니다. 이쪽으로 오시면 그다음에 스피커 케이블이 이렇게 또 전시가 되어 있고요. 그러니까 확실히 슈텍 케이블은 굉장히 이 선재도 굉장히 두껍게 이제 잘 만들고요. 그 단자라든 이런 부분들을 굉장히 고급스럽게 잘 만들고 있죠. 이쪽으로 오시면 네, 전부 다 이제 마스터 크라운 이제 등급인 것 같습니다. 이제 엑셀러 케이블이 이렇게 또 전시가 되어 있고요. 네, 그다음에 파워 케이블까지 이렇게 전시가 잘 되어 있습니다. 이제 크리스탈 케이블도 이렇게 전시가 되어 있습니다. 네, 크리스탈 케이블은 이제 또 실텍하고는 또 완전히 또 다른 디자인을 또 가지고 있죠. 그래서 네, 그 실텍보다는 조금 더 선재가 좀 더 얇습니다. 근데 여러분 뭐 얇다고 무시하시면 안 됩니다. 크리스탈 케이블도 굉장히 순도 높은 사운드를 들려주는 스타일로 유명하죠. 그래서 뭐 아트 시리즈, 그다음에 새로운 디지털 케이블이 또 이렇게 전시가 되어 있고요. 그다음에 이쪽에는 이제 다이아몬드 시리즈까지. 네, 실텍의 관계자분을 모시고 과연 실텍은 어떤 기술을 가지고 있는지 한번 물어보는 시간을 가지도록 하겠습니다.
Hi, welcome all to the booth of Siltech Crystal Cable and also HMS at the Munich Highend. I am Victor De Leeuw, Operations Director of our company. Siltech has always been famous for a very long time, for 41 years now, for its silver cables. Siltech stands for Silver Technology, but we don't only make cables from regular silver. We do a lot of research into advanced metallurgies, and we have created our own silver and gold metallurgy. It is meant to enhance the natural crystal structure of the silver to avoid that the music has to pass some of the smaller gaps in that crystal structure. So to make the natural silver sound much better and warmer, we fill those crystal gaps with gold, and that way you get a much more fluent signal transmission and a very detailed, warm, open, homogeneous sound. Metallurgy is not the only material which is very important for an audio cable. It's about the conductor, of course, but it's also about the electric, the insulation of the cable, and also about the shielding around that insulation. So the importance of the insulation is that it is very rigid and has very good properties to keep the signal inside that conductor and ensures that it flows as smoothly and as purely as possible. If you use a soft insulation material, the signal can maybe sort of be taken into the insulation and feedback later on, so you get a little bit smeared out sound. So you don't get the very detailed and pure sound, but it will sound distorted. So we use only the highest end materials like Teflon and Kapton and PEEK, all sourced by company DuPont. It's the best insulating materials there are, and that's one of the reasons why the cables sound so rich and detailed and pure. Of course, the best insulator is air, so in many of our cables we use a combination of the materials I just mentioned, Teflon, Kapton, PEEK, and air insulation to keep the conductors a little bit farther apart and insulating them even better from each other.
Okay.
Then another important part of construction is the shielding of the cable. This is meant to protect the cable from outside magnetic interference or other types of interference that can influence the signal. So in all our power cables and interconnect cables, the shielding is a very important part of it. We do a lot of research with our team of researchers. Some of them even have a PhD. And they do magnetic field analysis and other kinds of fundamental research to protect the cables from interference and also your equipment. Because if the cable does not emit all these magnetic fields, everything will sound better, also the other equipment and other cables in the neighborhood. Lineup starts with the Explorer series, which is made of a very high purity monocrystal copper. It's made of copper to make it a bit more accessible price, because of course silver and gold are very expensive materials. Explorer series is really to explore your way into the Siltech portfolio. Then we have Classic Legend series, which is the core of our portfolio, I would say. It's the very extremely high value for money product. It uses our core silver and gold metallurgy, which we are famous for a very long time. And then a combination of the materials I just mentioned, Teflon and PEEK insulation. And this Classic Legend series is a very popular series among many audiophiles, sounding extremely detailed but also warm and smooth and very pleasing. Then we also have developed an even more advanced metallurgy, which is called the monocrystal silver. It is so pure and such a perfect one crystal that you don't need to fill gaps with the gold, because there are no gaps at all. So it's one perfect structure, and therefore you get even more details, even more transparency and beautiful sound. This is the metallurgy we use in our Ruby Crown series, which is our 40th anniversary model we launched last year. And also the metallurgy we use for our Royal Crown series. And now, after almost a decade of research, we are very proud this year to introduce our new flagship model, which is called the Master Crown. It uses this same S10 monocrystal silver metallurgy for the conductors. All of the cables also use a little bit of gold, either in the conductor of the power cable or the connectors of the interconnects and the speaker cable. And all the technologies that we have are all put together in the power cable, the interconnect and the speaker cable. So it's a whole range of our flagship cable. In the end, every cable or every product we build, it's about the music, of course. It's about giving the user the experience of being there live at the recording, almost. So the cable should sound very natural, very pure. And our philosophy, we don't want to alter the sound, we don't want to use power filtering, we don't want to use networks in our cables or anything. We just choose to have the purest possible signal transmission, and that's why the cables and all the systems that they are connected to, they will sound very natural, very detailed and transparent and full-bodied, very open, so you get well, almost like the artist intended to be, the performer. That's how we want all our products to sound in the end.